Bonjour. We're on 7.6 Formulas and Relationships, page 413. We're now getting to the more practical side of this subject and this topic, and we're going to see how we apply this in other areas of your schooling. Now, what is a formula? A formula or a rule is an equation containing two or more variables, one of which is the subject of the equation. And I'll get back to that word, the subject of the equation. Now, where do I use formulas? There's so many subject areas where we do use formulas. All your sciences, physics, chemistry, biology. We use quite a bit of this in geography, accounting, and many other subjects where you need to use formulas at some stage. To use a formula, all we're going to do is we're going to get the formula, we're going to substitute all the values, and then solve the equation to find the final value, as we will do now in some examples. So when we talk about the subject of an equation, that is the variable that occurs by itself on the left-hand side. So for example, if we say v equals 3x plus 2y, v is the subject. If I look at these equations, v equals 4 over 3 pi r cubed, v is the subject of the formula, c is the subject, s is the subject of this formula. Let's go look at some examples. In example 9, they ask us to apply a formula. The question reads, apply the formula for a rectangular perimeter, p equals 2l plus 2w, to find p when L has certain values. So we have done this when we did the chapter on measurement. And remember, when we're going to substitute, I would like you to use brackets. So we're going to start off with the original equation saying P equals 2L plus 2W. They give us the value of L and the value of W. So we can replace the L 2 times. And I'm going to use a bracket saying L is 4 plus 2 times W, which is 7. I then simplify. I'm going to say 2 times 4 equals 8. And plus 2 times 7 is 14. 8 plus 14 will give us 22. There's no units, so we won't write any units. Straightforward, as we've done in previous topics. When, however, they give us in the B part, they ask us to calculate L when P is something. Now, there's two different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you both, and whatever method you prefer is the one that you can use. When you get into some science classes, your teacher might ask you to first make, in this case, L the subject of the formula, or you can just substitute the values and then find P. Let's look at the first way. If we're just going to substitute, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to start off by writing P equals 2L plus 2W. We're now going to substitute P, 40, so I'm going to use 40, the bracket, equals 2 times L plus 2 times W, in this case is 3. Now we're just going to solve it like we've solved all other equations. 40 times itself is 40. That's going to give us 2L plus 6. I want to get rid of 2 plus 6, so I'm going to subtract 6 on this side. I'm going to subtract 6 at this side. And in one step, because you guys know what you're doing, I'm going to switch the two sides. Imagine that. 2L on this side. The plus 6 and the minus 6 cancel. 40 take 6 is 34. Okay, so all I've done is I've simplified both sides and I just flip the equation. Now I'm going to get rid of 2 by dividing by 2 on both sides, and I find that L equals 3 divided by 2 is 17. So the other method that I was talking about, I'll do that one in blue, was P equals 2L plus 2W. So another method is to make L the subject of the formula, which means I want to get rid of 2w. So I'm going to subtract 2w on both sides. And that's going to leave me 2L equals P minus 2W. I'm going to quickly swap the two sides. I'm going to say that's the same as 2L equals P minus 2W. I'm now going to divide by 2 to get rid of 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 and I'm going to divide by 2. That's going to cancel. So I can say a new formula. P minus 2W divide by 2. If I now substitute the values that they've given me, and I say that is P, use brackets, 40 minus 2 times W, which is 3, divide by 2, will give me 40 minus 2 times 3 is 6, is 34, and 34 divided by 2 equals 17. My answer is exactly the same. So any one of those two methods, it's up to you. Sometimes it's easier to do the one where you just substitute values, and the other one it's easier to sometimes change the subject of the formula. Right, I'd like you to now do the questions at the bottom, mark them, and then see how you go. There's a little bit more than usual, but I think you will be alright, you'll survive, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir.